Now, we're aware part of the reason people watch Eyewitness News is to see what Dan might say on those wide shots. Besides Dan's comments, sometimes things don't go according to plan. As you know, we call those bloopers, and they have happened all the way back to the 1950s. There have been so many that Bridget Smith had to make 2 reports on them. Here's the first look at some of the funniest moments on Eyewitness News.
Good evening.
In the world of TV news, first rule, be careful who you look up to as a fashion plate.
Something I can help you with?
Because sometimes you're a blooper and you don't even know it.
Well, Chris, that move has been going on for quite a while, as you know.
As for breaking news,
Looks like that 3-alarm fire is really something. Deborah, tell us about it.
it's one of the more unpredictable aspects of live TV. And truth is, some stories are just too hot to handle.
Now, the heat is so intense here, the firefighters have warned me to stay away because my nylons may melt. The wires here are falling down, exploding. We've had to move twice. I'm having to move right now. It is so hot. We don't know whether it is a apartment house at this point, whether anyone was in it. I'm too hot to talk. Is my hair sticking up? No, my hair's not ready.
Reporters generally give it all they've got.
Nah.
I thought my living now.
Nah.
Leon didn't have to worry about these tables hitting his hats on it.
What am I saying?
And sometimes they show you all they've got.
Perhaps you can purchase the high-heeled shoes for men with shoulder tote bag. But if you're in a quandary to buy a gift for the man who has everything, we recommend the personalized bird feeder.
But it's all done with a song in our hearts.
She's the kind of girl, your loss, not mine, chick.
Thank you. Thank you.
And sometimes, even after the show, there's still, well, more to show.
The last person you just saw walk out onto the set there, that's my father-in-law, Ken O'Connor. I didn't hold a grudge over it, though. I let him come back to Channel 5 6 years later. There have been plenty of big sports events that have happened in this last 50 years, including probably the biggest in the town's history.
Now, I've been using all of this stuff since I've been here, but something tells me this was not around when you started here.
Oh, we barely had wood when I started here. Let me show you. This is the first map. See that? That was a patio door. I borrowed it from my neighbor, and we would write on it. And then we went to a small map. That map was actually about this big, and we would write on top of it. Then you can see the size of the map right there.
I can see the size of your sideburns, too.
Yeah,
That's
well,
nice.
yeah, you know, pretty
Not much
healthy.
has changed over the past 25 years.
Look at that terrible coat. This was a computer with 16 colors, first computer we ever used. And then from there we went to a little more 3D, 16 million colors. That looks like a T-bone, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, right.
Had that for
And then
dinner before we taping this.
Earthwatch was our 3D graphics system. That was before you guys. You guys were in what, elementary school when I did Earthwatch?
I think so, yeah. I was just walking.
Here we go, present day.
There you go, present day. You know, 24 million colors, 3D, futurecast, all that stuff. And of course, that helps us a great deal with, as you well know, forecasting not only past weather, but current stuff. And that's our job, is obviously severe weather. As a matter of fact, flooding can happen so quickly here in South Texas that it can catch a lot of people by surprise.
How many? 40 in the box?
It was July 17th, 1987, when torrential rains in the upper Guadalupe River sent a wall of water down the river to Comfort. That's where 43 children and adults were on a bus and a van leaving the Camp Pot of Gold. And they were swept away at that time by that wall of water.
We couldn't go forward, so we was going to get out and walk to the bank because it wasn't very deep then. But then some people started going down the river, so all the guys had to get the girls back over there. And then we got caught in the current, just went down.
Rescuers were frantically trying to pull the teens from the water. They rescued 33 of 43, but tragically, 10 of them lost their lives in this incident.
Well, as traumatic as that was, of course, you know, a lot of people were affected by that. Nothing beats the flood we recently had.
And we've seen many floods in South Texas, but I don't know if any of them will ever surpass October of 1998.
South, being from the East Coast, as well as Bill, used to seeing a lot of snow, but in South Texas, it's rather rare here. So was the snowstorm that shut down San Antonio back in 1985. It's something that San Antonians rarely see. Snow. And between January 11th and 13th of 1985, the Alamo City saw 13.5 inches of snow fall on San Antonio. Every snowfall record dating back to 1885 was easily broken. The previous record was 6 inches back in January 1926. This San Antonio very first time at an almost impossible time.
I'm glad I'm not driving.
The snow pretty much shut down the entire city. As you can see from the air, San Antonio covered in a white blanket. Inner tubes that were usually used for rafting down rivers were now being used for sledding down snowbanks. People even built a snowman in front of the Alamo.
Chris, that's a quick look at the weather and how it's changed over the last 50 years technology-wise. Back to you.
Thanks, guys, and you can finish that bottle of champagne now. Personalities have been the driving force behind KENS 5 over the years. When we come back, we'll take a look at 2 of the most recognizable faces on KENS TV in the past 50 years, and later we'll have more bloopers from KENS 5, 50 years of mostly excellent. Well, of course, there have been a number of personalities on KENS 5 over the years that people remember. One of the best newsmen, reporter Paul Thompson. Sarah Lucero has more on the man who started the phrase, "Eyewitness wants to know."
Governor Mark White
He was known for his raspy voice, but was a powerful journalist in San Antonio, working for KENS Television and the Express News. He was on KENS 5 for more than 30 years. He was an anchor, reporter, and was even able to joke with Walter Cronkite back in the clip from the 1950s.
New York. Thanks, Walter. Walter Cronkite of CBS Network in New York, broadcasting from New York City. With all the
He was the man who broke the Henry Cisneros Linda Medler affair, but is always best known for starting Eyewitness Wants to Know, the segment that has been running for a quarter-century on Eyewitness News. Many people believe that if you ever saw Paul Thompson coming your way, you were in trouble.
Eyewitness wants to know why the downtown merchants, all of whom claim...
For most of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, he was one of the most recognizable people on KENS TV.
Paul Thompson for Eyewitness News.
With all that Paul Thompson Eyewitness News stuff, you think of Paul Thompson or remember him as a pretty gruff guy, but in fact, he was a highly intelligent, very sensitive man to whom journalism was the highest